just back from Florida and a quick 4-game series there. You got to be shocked at that, right?
Yeah, I'm shocked at it because the Canes are such a quality opponent, and Roddy and the staff have done such an incredible job with that team. And even in light of their injuries, there's no way anybody could have gone at that series thinking that they'd lose 4-0. I don't think ultimately that it reflected the fact that they got swept because they played hard and they played well. But you got to tip your cap to the Florida Panthers, man, and the run that they're on right now. It's a historic run for them. This is awesome to see for them.
Was this as simple as Bobrovsky being that good?
Yeah. Yeah, Bob's was unreal. Bob's was really dialed in, locked in. You know, we have the same agent, you know, in Paul Theophanis, but I'm going to share this for a lot of the viewers and the listeners that nobody's really kind of delved into. When you watch Bobrovsky play, watching the pregame show when they show the warm-up, you can see him literally deep breathing. He's visualizing. He's so mentally locked in. And in stoppages and play, you can see it. In TV timeouts, you can see it. He's at a whole different level mentally. And that's really kind of part and parcel with his game physically right now. He's absolutely dominant right now.
One of the questions then becomes, like, how long can you do that? How long can you be in that zone? I don't know. Were you ever in that zone? I guess so.
Yeah, I was, but if there's a way that
it was a Tuesday in December in 1998, I think.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, listen, I got a business proposition. If there's some way that we can bottle that zone, the Godfather John Shannon, you could take, I don't know, we're going to give you a little more than a third. Bobcat, we're going to give you more of the majority, and I'll just take a little slice, because if we can bottle and sell that zone,
yeah,
I'll tell you what, man, we'd all be billionaires.
So why wasn't he in this zone in December? Why wasn't he in this zone in January?
Yeah, so
maybe he didn't want to be. Or didn't feel he needed to be.
That's when he was getting the $10 million, Bob.
So here's the
got
thing.
It anyway, regardless of how he played.
Here's the crazy thing about him and about goaltending in general, which is really interesting. I think for the Florida Panthers specifically, they're a team that's really been a high octane team. Remember last year, they were the comeback cats.
Yeah.
They had an unreal regular season. They could score their way out of problems. They could rescue games being down 3-1 in the third, come back, bam, win a game 4-3, right? But they've never really been as solid defensively as they are now. You can see guys taking pride in how they defend. And it's now become infectious up and down the lineup. And with that, you can also see that when they're killing penalties. And Bob's came from playing in Columbus, where they had that structure, especially under Torts, to come into Florida, where a lot of guys were playing, not to be disparaging, but a lot of guys are playing to run numbers. They weren't necessarily playing to win. That fit wasn't quite a fit per se. And I think with Paul Maurice coming in there, my former head coach, and Jamie Compound on the assistant side, and Sylvain Lefebvre, they've really been able to impart on these guys, let's play from the middle of the ice out. I know I sound like we're talking minor hockey here, but it's that basic. Let's play from the middle of the ice out. Let's defend well. Let's give Bob the shots from the angles. Let's be a lot more predictable in a good way defensively. If and when we buy into that, we're going to give ourselves a shot. And to me, that those two things kind of coincided with Bob hitting his stride. Then we know he got sick coming down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Lyon had to come in there, and he was amazing. Props to him, especially with Spencer Knight being in the program and in the assistance program. And once Bob came back, he was able to hit his stride, and he looks like the two-time Vezina Trophy winner that is Bobrovsky. But he would tell you the way the guys are playing in front and around him as well, it allows him to maximize his game.
It is difficult to assess what impact a coach is having over the course of a season, etc.
Right.
But I wonder if you can look at the Florida Panthers and the way they have played the last 3 or 4 weeks and point a finger at Paul Maurice and say, you know, this guy has made them play this way and it's been successful. Do you think so?
All day. Guys, I have goosebumps with you saying that. I literally have goosebumps right now with you saying that, because that brings me back to playing for Paul Maurice in 2002 with our group, when Rod Brindamore, Ron Francis, Jeff O'Neill, our whole squad in 2002, when we ended up going on this improbable run in a lot of people's eyes before the playoffs started, Paul Maurice pulled me in the office. He had a very pointed and respectful conversation with me individually, but I know he had that with other guys. Pardon me. And when I got up out of his office, the hairs on the back of my neck started standing up. And I really knew then, at that time, that our group had a chance to do something, and we had a chance to shock the world, like a Cinderella team in the NCAA tournament. Let's just say March Madness tournament. That's what I felt we could do. The game in Toronto, which you guys remember, coming down the stretch, when he had to lay into the guys on the bench. You remember that? It was coming down the stretch right before the playoffs. He laid in the
middle of March.
March, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he lays into the guys on the bench, not in a way to devalue anybody or to discredit anybody, but to rally them. Guys, this is right here. This is a moment for us. This is what we can do. This is what we have to do. We do this, we're on. Let's go. And that to me was the jumper cables from Canadian Tire on a Tuesday that was minus 25 Celsius, equivalent of that, to get what seemed to be a car that was stalling, to get it going, and the rest is history. So to answer you, Bobcat, in a long-winded way, absolutely. Absolutely.
So in theory, do you think it took 65 games for them to buy into what Paul was saying? Is that the simple?
Yeah, totally. Listen, here, guys, Matthew Tkachuk, and I'll probably get some stick for this because my wife's in Alberta, and I've told you this how many times. I told the people in Calgary when they drafted this guy's the man. He's the man. Chucky's the guy. Chucky's the guy. I won't even talk about how that ended out there because to me, that was kind of a botch on their part, but even though I knew he wanted to depart, but that's another story. Matthew Tkachuk told me when he first signed, Weeksy, we're going to do something down here. NHL All-Star Weekend at Fort Lauderdale Beach. Matthew Tkachuk, you remember how we had the outdoor skills session at the little outdoor rink there by the beach? The accuracy shooting. He pulled me in. He's like, Weeksy, love it down here. I love it. It's awesome. We're going to do something. I could feel him. I could feel it. I'm not a teammate. I could feel him tell me that. And it's almost as though he willed the team, in addition to his dad, the great Keith Tkachuk, Big Walt, some of his comments on the radio here in Toronto. It's almost as though they willed the team into the fight. Because Matthew Tkachuk is a guy that brings guys into the fight. And he certainly has been able to do that with this group. It's incredible what he's doing.
We're going to find out right now whether we have two sweeps heading into the Stanley Cup final. I don't know. I'm going to just guess. I don't know statistically. I'm going to guess this has never happened.
Wrong.
We have had both teams swept.
1992.
Really?
Pittsburgh swept the East, the Boston Bruins. That's when Cam Neely got hurt by Ulf Samuelsson. And Chicago, with Mike Keenan as a coach, swept the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, 1992 was the last time.
That's pretty,
And then, by the way, after that, another sweep. Pittsburgh beat Chicago in 4.
Chicago in the Cup final. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. That's how, well, to your guys' point, that's how rare this is.
Well, I couldn't remember that. So, just logically, you'd say, look, you get to the third round. Usually that's, each round is more competitive. To have two teams in the second round, both coming off sweeps, that wouldn't be that odd. But two teams going to the final on sweeps, and that might happen tonight if Vegas wins. That's pretty rare.
But the Florida 4 games,
yeah,
when you think about it, I mean, 3 games, 2 in overtime, and then this thing that we saw in game 4, where, Bob, you and I talked about this yesterday, referees not putting whistles away. They'd call a power play in the last, 110 or 170 seconds of the game.
Yeah.
And the Panthers scoring a power play with 5 seconds to go. I mean, really 3 overtime games in so many ways. 3 overtime games. One of them lasted more than 2 games, and then the other game was a 1-0 victory. If you could tell me, I think with a few little tweaks, Carolina could have won all 4 games. They could have won all, but they could have swept. No, but they didn't. No, but so it's difficult to say, well, there's a sweep. We've only seen of the 7 games played so far, really, there's only been one rout, and that was game 3 in Dallas, with Vegas controlling the first 10 minutes of the game and then going on cruise control.